We were supposed to be a team. Camille and I had been together for almost 4 years. We met as college sophomores in a shared business elective, both broke, both overachievers, and both wide-eyed with ambition. She wanted to take over the luxury real estate market. I wanted to build brands that didn't just sell, but mattered. I remember our first real conversation. We were in the campus coffee shop, cramming for midterms, when she said, "One day, I'm going to sell a $10 million penthouse." I laughed and replied, "Cool. I'll design the billboard for it." That was us. We moved in together the summer after graduation. She got her real estate license and started working open houses for crumbs, barely scraping by. I juggled freelance graphic design gigs and bartending 3 nights a week just to keep the lights on. We had nothing, but we had each other. And, more importantly, we had a plan. We even made a Pinterest board. Cheesy, I know. We called it the Empire Blueprint. It had everything: mood boards for our dream office, color palettes for our future brand, even pins of matching business cards with our names on them. We imagined opening a boutique real estate and design firm one day. Her managing listings, me doing the branding. She'd close deals, I'd build the image. For a while, it felt like we were really building something. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. It was subtle at first. She started dressing differently. Nothing wrong with upgrading your look, but hers changed fast. One day she was rocking thrifted blazers and slacks. The next, she was in full-blown designer brands with $900 heels. I asked once if she was just treating herself. She laughed. "Just gotta look the part, babe. These clients expect glam." I didn't question it. I figured success was finally finding her. Then came the name-dropping. Suddenly, she was talking about clients with yachts, developers who threw private wine tastings. High-value men, as she once called them. I didn't say much, but every time we talked, I felt smaller. Like the dream we built was slowly becoming her dream, and I was just tagging along. Then one night she told me I should come with her to a cocktail mixer being hosted by one of her clients. "It's networking, babe. You'll meet cool people," she said. That's where I met him. Dennis, mid-60s, tailored suit, $40,000 watch, and the kind of tan you can only buy. He shook my hand the way you pat a dog you don't want jumping on you. While Camille worked the room, he stayed close to her. Way too close. Laughing at everything she said, whispering in her ear. At one point I went to get drinks, and when I came back, he was holding her waist. She pulled away when she saw me, pretending it was nothing. "That's just Dennis. He's harmless," she said later. A week after that, she sat me down on our couch, the one we bought second-hand for $70 and still hadn't finished paying off on credit. Her voice was calm, cold, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror 10 times. "I love you, but I need stability. I want a real future, and Dennis can give me that. You're talented, but I just can't wait around for someday anymore." No warning, no tears, just a business decision. She packed a suitcase and walked out that same night. I didn't even get a fight. No, "Let's take a break." No final kiss. She was just gone. I sat there in the quiet, looking at our vision board still taped to the wall, the mock logos we'd sketched, the list of cities we wanted to expand to. It hit me like a gut punch. None of it had meant anything to her anymore. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I stopped taking design calls for a week. The dishes piled up. The place smelled like takeout and old coffee. My phone buzzed with texts from friends checking in, but I ignored them all. I wasn't ready to admit she'd left me. Not for someone else, but for someone richer. But then, something strange happened. On day 10, I woke up before my alarm. No idea why. I didn't feel rested, but I felt awake, like something in my chest had locked into place. I opened my laptop, opened the draft for a pitch deck I'd been putting off for weeks, and started typing. Not to distract myself, not to get revenge, but because I remembered who I was before I loved her. I was still that guy with a vision, still that designer who could build something from scratch, And suddenly, I didn't want to prove her wrong anymore. I wanted to prove myself right. After Camille left, everything felt empty. The apartment was too quiet. Her perfume still clung to the closet like it was waiting for her to come back. There were coffee stains on the counter from our last rushed morning together, her favorite mug still sitting by the sink like it had been forgotten in the breakup. Half the furniture was gone. Hers. The TV we split payments on. The velvet armchair she found at a thrift shop and absolutely had to have. Even the full-length mirror she used every morning before work. It was like someone had hit a delete key on half my life and left me to stare at what remained. The first few days? Hell. I didn't eat properly, barely slept. I'd sit at the edge of my bed, replaying the breakup speech in my head like some cruel Spotify loop. I love you, but I need stability. I want a real future, and Dennis can give me that. You're talented, but I just can't wait around for someday anymore. Each word stung more than the last. I started to believe her. Maybe I was the dead end. A nice guy with big dreams and no results. Maybe I was asking too much for her to wait around while I built something from scratch. But once the self-pity dried up, something else took its place. Not sadness, resolve. I didn't want revenge. Not yet, anyway. What I wanted was clarity. To prove to myself that I hadn't been wasting my time, that I was still on the right path even if she couldn't see it. Because here's what Camille never knew. While she was out chasing yachts and champagne brunches with Dennis and his golf buddies, I'd been building something in silence. Months before we broke up, I'd reconnected with an old freelance client, a brilliant woman named Amira who'd gone from finance analyst to startup visionary. She had an idea for an app, a financial literacy tool for young professionals. Bite-sized content, actionable tools, budget planners, student loan simulators, real help, not just motivational fluff. I'd helped brand it early on. Logo, name, UI concepts. Nothing major, but I believed in it. After Camille left, I called Amira. I didn't say much, just asked, "Is the offer still open?" To go all in? It was, so I made a choice. No sad Instagram posts, no cryptic quotes. I ghosted online. Let the world think I was broken and bitter, scrolling in the dark. Meanwhile, I built. I quit bartending and lived off my small savings. Moved into a studio apartment and sold my old gaming setup to afford groceries. I worked 12 to 14-hour days, tweaking code, polishing UX flows, designing pitch decks with clean visuals that popped. Amira and I pitched to startup accelerators. Some said no, but one said yes. We got accepted into a 3-month program that changed everything: mentorship, strategy, investor introductions. Suddenly, we weren't just an idea. We were a startup. And the numbers, unreal. We launched beta testing with 0 ad spend and grew from 1,000 users to 100,000 in 6 weeks, mostly from organic TikTok buzz. People were posting about it, sharing their savings goals. DMS from teachers asking if they could use it in class. Gen Z influencers shouted us out on Twitter. We started trending. By month 4, we were sitting in boardrooms pitching venture capitalists, and they saw the value immediately. Not just in the product, but in us. While all this was happening, I kept quiet. Not out of spite, out of focus. But I'll admit, I did keep tabs on Camille. Not obsessively, just curiously. Her Instagram told a very different story than mine. She was glowing, yes, decked out in pearls and Hermes scarves, tagging locations like Dubai, the Maldives, and Monte Carlo, posing on yachts that I knew weren't hers, smiling in front of designer stores, holding champagne flutes, her captions dripping in ambition. Don't date potential, date power. Each one felt like a jab, but I didn't flinch, because here's what nobody else saw. Behind the filters, she was slipping. Her comments dropped. Her smile? It looked less natural. There was a coldness in her eyes, like she was playing a part she wasn't sure she auditioned for. The longer she spent in Dennis's world, the more she started to disappear into it. And Dennis? He looked the same in every photo, checked out, like he couldn't tell the difference between Camille and his last 3 girlfriends. A rich man's accessory, not a partner. The truth is, Camille traded a future for a shortcut, and it looked like it paid off. For now. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was what I was becoming. I wasn't chasing status anymore. I wasn't chasing her or her approval or her designer life. I was chasing impact. 8 months. That's how long it took to go from the guy she left to the man everyone wanted to meet. 8 months of working in silence while the world thought I'd fallen off. While people probably whispered that I'd never bounce back. While Camille was posting reels from yachts and penthouses, I was holed up in a tiny studio apartment, surviving on black coffee, microwave noodles, and Drive. No parties, no distractions, no Instagram stories. Just the grind. And the grind paid off. Our app, Centivus, officially launched in early spring. And within 2 weeks, it exploded. We hit number 4 on the finance charts. Reviews poured in. People called it the Duolingo of money. TikTok creators stitched walkthroughs, educators emailed us asking to integrate it into their classrooms, and our daily user count doubled week after week. Within a month, Forbes hit us up. We were listed on their Under 30 to Watch feature. Then the VCs came running. It was surreal. I went from designing $50 logos on Fiverr to negotiating 6-figure branding deals with Fortune 500 companies. My inbox became a minefield of opportunity. Banks, credit unions, fintech platforms, all wanting a piece of what we were building. And through it all, I stayed silent online. Not because I was hiding, because I didn't need to prove anything anymore. But I knew Camille was watching. I could feel her eyes on my ghosted social profiles. She hadn't blocked me, just unfollowed. Which, let's be honest, is code for, I want to check in without boosting your ego. Her posts changed too. The glow-up became muted. That sharp, smug energy started to dull. The designer bags were still there, but the smile behind them wasn't. Her caption softened. Less boss babe, more generic quotes like, sometimes silence is the loudest scream. And Dennis. He started fading into the background. No more dinner selfies. No his and hers private jet pics. Just one blurry photo of him at a gala, looking bored beside her while she posed alone. I started hearing whispers through the grapevine. Mutuals in real estate, old contacts. Rumors that Dennis had reconnected with his second ex-wife. Apparently, she still had part ownership of one of his developments, and now she was staying with him for business reasons. Classic. But I wasn't interested in drama. I had bigger things to focus on. One of our angel investors, a legend in Silicon Valley, invited us to a black-tie startup gala in Los Angeles. Tech founders, venture capitalists, financial influencers. It was the kind of event where careers are launched and partnerships are born. The elite of the elite. I didn't plan on making a statement. I just wanted to show up and represent our brand. But when I saw the guest list, guess who was listed as a diamond-tier sponsor? Dennis. Of course, it was too poetic to be real. The universe was practically begging me to close the loop. So I went. Black custom suit, no tie, perfectly tailored. Not flashy, just clean, confident, professional. The kind of look you don't second-guess. The kind you don't forget. My business partner, Amira, joined me. And let me tell you, if there was ever someone who embodied power and presence, it was her. Long black gown, sleek hair, and a gaze that could slice through steel. Camille once called her CEO energy that's kinda scary. Yeah, that one. We stepped into the gala and heads turned. At first, people didn't recognize me. I'd grown out my facial hair, upgraded my posture, upgraded my life. I looked nothing like the guy who used to show up in scuffed sneakers and faded hoodies, until the MC took the stage. Tonight's Rising Innovator Award goes to a team that revolutionized financial access for Gen Z, Please welcome Lorenzo Garcia and Amira Nassar, co-founders of Centivis." Spotlights swept the room. We walked up to the stage to polite applause, flashes from cameras, and murmurs from people trying to remember where they'd heard our names before. And then I saw her, champagne in hand, frozen mid-sip, dressed in a gold gown I knew she didn't buy herself. Camille. Her eyes widened. Her jaw actually dropped. It wasn't just shock, it was panic, like her brain was scrambling to recalculate a future she had once thrown away. I caught her glance toward Dennis, who stood beside her with a stiff smile, checking his watch like he was counting the minutes until dessert. She looked back at me, like she was trying to calculate how many years she'd just wasted. I didn't gloat, didn't smirk. I just gave her a polite nod. Not a greeting, not an invitation, just recognition. Amira leaned over and whispered with a knowing smile, "Is that her?" I didn't answer, didn't need to, because the best part was still coming. Camille didn't waste time. 10 minutes after the awards wrapped up, I spotted her weaving through the crowd. Alone. No Dennis. Her champagne was half full, but the confidence in her walk was draining with every step. She looked great, on the surface. Gold dress, polished hair, glowing skin. But when our eyes locked, I could see it. The cracks, the quiet panic behind the painted smile. "Lorenzo," she said, touching my arm like we were old friends meeting by chance. I turned slowly and gave her the kind of smile you save for polite strangers at weddings. "Camille, been a while." She laughed, a little too quickly. "Wow, I had no idea you were doing so well. You look incredible. This is all just insane." I nodded. "Yeah, it's been a crazy ride." She glanced sideways at Amira, who was deep in conversation with one of our top investors. Even standing still, she had that I-own-the-room energy Camille never could fake. "So," Camille said, trying to sound casual, "Centivis, huh? That's your company? That app that blew up?" I took a sip of my drink. "Yeah, we've been lucky. Right timing, right mission." "You always had talent," she said, brushing her hair back like we were in a rom-com. "Honestly, I'm happy for you. You deserve it." And then came the laugh. Forced, hollow, the kind of sound people make when they want to sound unaffected. "God, remember our little business dream? Funny how things work out, huh?" I studied her face, the fake laugh, the reaching for nostalgia, the unspoken "what if" hanging in the air. I stared at her for a beat, then said, "Yeah, you were half right back then." Her brow creased. "What do you mean?" I tilted my head slightly. "You said you needed someone with stability, someone who could give you a real future. Turns out, that was me. You just didn't wait long enough to see it." She blinked, hard, like she'd just been slapped with the truth she didn't expect to hear out loud. "Well, I mean, if you ever want to catch up sometime, grab coffee, talk about everything." "No need," I said calmly but firmly. "I caught up. I'm good." She froze, smile faltering for just a second too long. Right on cue, Amira returned to my side. Her presence was electric. Camille instinctively straightened her posture as if squaring off with someone who didn't even notice her. Amira raised a perfectly shaped brow. "Friend of yours?" "Old connection," I said, not even glancing at Camille. We were just finishing up. Amira gave her a polite, razor-sharp smile. "Nice to meet you." Camille nodded stiffly. "You too." Then Amira turned to me. "Rooftop meet and greet's about to start. Investors from the UK just landed. You ready?" I gave Camille one final sincere smile. "Take care, Camille." And with that, I turned and walked away with Amira. Not angrily, not bitterly, just done. It was the most peaceful I'd felt in years. Later that night, I stepped out onto the rooftop, drink in hand, city lights glittering below. Laughter and jazz drifted through the warm air as founders mingled with investors, ideas and connections flowing freely. I scanned the crowd once, then stepped to the edge for a moment alone. That's when I spotted her again. Camille, alone at the bar, fake smiling for Instagram, tilting her glass just right, taking photo after photo with no one behind the camera. Dennis was nowhere. Maybe he left early. Maybe he left her early. The girl who once posted motivational quotes like, "Never settle," now looked like she was settling for pixels, filters over cracks, captions masking regret. And me? I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I was free. I had a company built from nothing, a partner who challenged and inspired me, a team who believed in our mission, and, for the first time, I wasn't chasing approval. I was building legacy. Camille didn't leave me for a better man. She left too early. She wanted a shortcut to a future I was already building brick by brick, and when she walked away, I didn't collapse. I climbed.